Greg Wyshynski was reporting that I guess Bill Daly has suggested that they might be keen to the idea of returning to Atlanta for a third time. That is, I don't know.
What?
Yes.
In recent years, the dialogue surrounding hockey in Atlanta has changed. With existing franchise price tags approaching $1 billion, and the league's owners eager to profit from expansion fees paid by well-capitalized owners, NHL insiders have suggested there's a real possibility that NHL hockey will return to Atlanta for a third time. But what are the chances it'll actually work?
Atlanta has failed twice. The Flames moved to Calgary. The Thrashers couldn't even find a new owner. They moved to Winnipeg.
With this question in mind, I thought it'd be interesting to look at the history of NHL hockey in Atlanta. Atlanta had no history with professional hockey until the NHL awarded them an expansion team to begin play in the 1972-73 season. It was the NHL's first foray into the Deep South, and there wasn't even a hockey rink in the metro Atlanta area. But owner Tom Cousins was building a new arena to host his Atlanta Hawks, and he viewed an NHL team as a way to add 40 additional bookings at the new building. The Omni Coliseum had a unique design, so it could fit on the square footprint between existing train tracks. Cousins named his hockey team the Flames in memory of the burning of Atlanta during the American Civil War. The Flames iced a consistent, but mediocre team, making the playoffs in 6 of their 8 seasons in Atlanta, but never making it past the first round. As the Flames stalled on the ice, they struggled at the gate. They peaked at an average of 14,000 fans per game in their second season, but fell to 10,500 by 1978. Declining attendance led to speculation that the team could move, prompting politicians and players themselves to purchase tickets in a bid to stabilize the franchise. In 1980, the Flames made a last-ditch effort to boost attendance by signing Jim Craig, the goalie of the Miracle on Ice team. But it wasn't successful, as average attendance fell to 10,000 fans. After 8 full seasons in Atlanta, Cousins sold the Flames to the Calgary-based Seaman Brothers for $16 million.
Always burning for you.
In June of 1997, the NHL awarded Atlanta its second expansion team as part of a 4-team tiered expansion. This included teams in Nashville, Columbus, and Minnesota, with each new franchise to begin play upon completion of a new arena. After conducting a fan poll, owner Ted Turner, who also owned the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Hawks, announced the team would be called the Thrashers, in honor of Georgia's state bird.
Well, hello, Georgie. I bet you don't hear this all the time, but did you know that Georgia is on my mind?
Well, hello there, Barry. Welcome to Georgia. We're a pretty big state, so let's get flying, I implore ya.
The Thrashers were set to begin play in the 1999-2000 season, with construction on the new arena starting as soon as the Omni Coliseum was demolished in July of '97. Phillips Arena was designed with all the club seats and luxury boxes on one side, with general admission seating on the other. The idea was to allow the bulk of the seats to be closer to the ice, while providing a sufficient number of revenue-raising premium seats. But critics felt the asymmetrical design was detrimental to the atmosphere.
It was horrible. Now, the rink or the arena was totally built for basketball. They have one side of the whole arena is suites. So there's like no seats there or very few. It was so bizarre. Maybe for the Hawks games, it's great. But you've had 2 times there, and you got all these different areas that want teams. Like, no way. No way.
Within 9 months, the team had sold 12,000 season tickets for its inaugural season. Don Waddell, the assistant general manager of the Detroit Red Wings, was hired as the Thrashers' first general manager at the conclusion of the 97-98 season. In June of 1999, the NHL held an expansion draft to fill the Thrashers roster. They selected 1 player from each existing franchise for a total of 26 players. As a result of the draft lottery, the Thrashers had the 2nd overall pick at the 1999 NHL entry draft. The Canucks were determined to select both Sedin twins and initiated a trading carousel involving multiple teams, including the Thrashers. When the dust settled, the Thrashers ended up with the 1st overall pick, which they used to select Patrick Steffen. On October 2, 1999, the Thrashers played their first home game at the Phillips Arena in downtown Atlanta. They dropped a 4-1 decision to the New Jersey Devils before a sellout crowd, with captain Kelly Buchberger scoring the franchise's first goal. The Thrashers averaged over 17,000 fans during their inaugural season, ranking 11th in attendance, despite finishing last in the league. Andrew Burnett led the team in scoring with 23 goals and 50 points. And Damian Rhodes and Norm Maracle carried most of the workload in net, combining for 9 wins, 38 losses, a 3.69 goals against average, and an .882 save percentage. The Thrashers ended up with the second overall pick at the 2000 draft, which they used to select Dany Heatley, who went on to win Rookie of the Year when he joined the team for the 2001-2002 season. The Thrashers improved by 21 points in their second year, but still finished third last in the league. Average attendance dropped from over 17,000 in year 1 to just over 15,000 in year 2, which ranked 23rd in the league. Steve Staios took over as team captain, and 36-year-old Ray Ferraro led the team in scoring with 29 goals and 76 points. Milan Nelichka and Damian Rhodes shared the net for most of the season, combining for 19 wins, 38 losses, a 3.4 goals against average, and an .894 save percentage. The Thrashers won the 2001 draft lottery and used the first overall pick to select Ilya Kovalchuk, making him the first Russian to be selected first overall. Heatley and Kovalchuk both joined the Thrashers for the 2001-2002 season and were both named to the NHL All-Rookie team.
Roll that one home. Kovalchuk 6 goals is clearly the scoring machine that he's been heralded as.
The MVP, 6 goals. Number 17. Remember the number, remember the name. Kovalchuk, 18 years old.
Heatley finished the season with 26 goals and 67 points in 82 games, while Kovalchuk put up 29 goals and 51 points, despite missing 17 games with a season-ending shoulder injury. Despite the arrival of their two talented rookies, the Thrashers finished last in the league with 54 points. Attendance declined once again, with the Thrashers averaging a little under 14,000 fans, which ranked third last in the league. They had the second overall pick at the 2002 draft, which they used to select goaltender Kari Lehtinen. After winning just 8 of their first 33 games, the team fired head coach Kurt Fraser. Don Waddell took over on an interim basis, until the team hired Bob Hartley as the new head coach. Hartley worked wonders, coaching the team to a 19-14-5 and 1 record in their final 39 games. Heatley led the team in scoring again, finishing the season with 41 goals and 89 points in 77 games. Tassi Nermanen started the majority of games for the Thrashers, finishing the season with a 21-19-5 record, a 2.90 goals against average, and a .906 save percentage. Despite finishing with their best record in franchise history, the Thrashers missed the playoffs for the 4th consecutive season. Average attendance declined to just under 13,500, which ranked third last in the league. Before Hartley's first full season as head coach, Turner Broadcasting announced it was selling the Thrashers to Atlanta Spirit LLC, along with the Atlanta Hawks and the operating rights to Phillips Arena. Shortly after the announcement, tragedy struck the Thrashers. Dany Heatley lost control of his Ferrari in a residential area of Atlanta. The car struck a wall and split in half, ejecting Heatley and his Thrashers teammate Dan Snyder. Snyder suffered a critical skull fracture and passed away in the hospital on October 5, 2003. Heatley survived, but suffered a broken jaw, a bruised lung, a bruised kidney, and 3 torn ligaments in his right knee. Heatley pleaded guilty to second-degree vehicular homicide, driving too fast for conditions, failure to maintain a lane, and speeding. He admitted to consuming alcohol prior to the crash, but his blood alcohol content tested below the legal limit. Heatley was sentenced to 3 years probation, but avoided trial as part of a plea deal that dropped the first-degree charge of vehicular homicide. The Thrashers and the Atlanta community were largely supportive of Heatley, and Snyder's family told the judge that nothing would be gained by putting Heatley in prison. The Thrashers dedicated the season to Snyder and Heatley, and honored Snyder by wearing a patch displaying his number 37. He was also honored with the Dan Snyder Memorial Scholarship, which supports the post-secondary education of student athletes.
We do not lay blame on Dany Heatley for the accident that took our son from us. Dany is a good person, and no one feels more sorry for what happened than he does.
The crash kept Heatley out of the lineup until January, giving Kovalchuk the opportunity to take over as the team's offensive leader. He had a breakout season, recording 41 goals and 87 points, and finishing in a 3-way tie for the Rocket Richard Trophy. Led by Kovalchuk, who scored 8 goals in the first 7 games, including 2 hat tricks, the Thrashers were first in the NHL through 11 games. Although they continued to play well, they slowly fell in the standings. Boxing Day was a pivotal date for the Thrashers. On one hand, there was a positive development, as Dany Heatley started skating for the first time since the accident. On the other, it marked the Thrashers' last win before a miserable stretch of hockey. From late December to early February, the Thrashers won just 2 out of 21 games, effectively playing themselves out of the playoff race. Despite the nosedive, the Thrashers finished with their best record in franchise history, finishing just 4 games below 500, with 78 points. Their strong start to the season, along with Kovalchuk's chase for the Rocket Richard, led to a spike in attendance. The Thrashers drew over 15,000 fans per game, which ranked 22nd in the league. Looking to capitalize on the increased interest in hockey in Atlanta, the NHL awarded the Thrashers the 2005 All-Star Weekend, but the game ended up being cancelled because of the 2004 to 2005 lockout. Before play resumed for the 2005 to 2006 season, the Thrashers made a huge splash, trading Dany Heatley to the Ottawa Senators in exchange for Marian Hossa and Greg DeVries. Despite going a full season without NHL hockey, Thrashers fans remained enthusiastic when their team returned to the ice. Average attendance increased to 15,550 fans, which ranked 23rd in the league. The jump in attendance was bolstered by the team's performance, as they posted their first winning record in franchise history and finished just 2 points out of the playoffs. Ilya Kovalchuk had the best season of his career, recording 52 goals and 98 points in 78 games. The season was also characterized by a revolving door in the Thrashers' net. Kari Lehtonen was supposed to take over as the Thrashers' full-time starter, but he pulled his groin just minutes into the first game of the season. Veteran backup Mike Dunham took over the crease, but injured himself just a few games later. That opened the door for goaltending prospects Michael Garnett and Adam Burkholz to see some NHL action. To alleviate the pressure on their prospects, the Thrashers signed veteran goaltender Steve Shields, but he was also injured after starting just 5 games. That left their unproven goalies to hold down the fort until their regular goaltending tandem returned from injury. Lehtonen returned to the crease in January and finished his rookie season with 20 wins, 15 losses, a .906 save percentage, and a 2.94 goals against average. After their first winning season in franchise history, the Thrashers entered the 2006 to 2007 season with high expectations. Led by Kovalchuk, Hossa, and Lehtonen, the Thrashers won 7 of their first 10 games and rode the momentum to their first division championship in franchise history. Their strong performance in the regular season led to a jump in attendance, with the Thrashers averaging over 16,000 fans for the first time since their inaugural season. They also had home ice advantage in their first round series against the Rangers. Thrashers fans showed up in droves to pack the Phillips Arena for games 1 and 2, only to watch their team fall behind 2 games to none. The Rangers dominated back in New York and won the series in 4 straight games. Unfortunately for the Thrashers, their Game 2 loss at Phillips Arena was the final NHL playoff game played in Atlanta.
What a finish, although it did not go the Atlanta Thrashers' way.
Following their disappointing playoff sweep, the Thrashers lost their first 6 games in 2007 to 2008, which cost Bob Hartley his job. Don Waddell took over on an interim basis, and the team won 7 of the next 10 games. But the success was short-lived, as the Thrashers continued their struggles in December and entered 2008 a game below 500. On a positive note, the Thrashers finally got to host the All-Star Weekend they were awarded back in 2005.
Number 17, Ilya Kovalchuk!
The weekend was a huge success, and with Atlanta being a place of significance to the civil rights movement, it was the perfect place to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Willie O'Ree breaking hockey's color barrier. After hosting the All-Star Game, the Thrashers made a push to get back into the postseason with 6 wins in an 8-game stretch, but they weren't able to sustain the effort and finished the season with a disappointing record of 34-40-8. Even more disappointing to fans, at the 2008 deadline, the team dealt Marian Hossa and Pascal Dupuis to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Coming back the other way were Colby Armstrong, Eric Christensen, Angelo Esposito, and the Penguins' first-round pick. Following the draft, John Anderson was named the 4th head coach in the team's 8-year history. The Thrashers got off to another bad start under their new head coach, winning just 2 of their first 11 games and entering the new year with a 12-21-5 record. At the same time, the team's ownership group was coming apart at the seams. A dispute between Steve Belkin and his 7 fellow owners came to a head, with Belkin claiming the other owners breached their contract and that he had the right to buy them out at cost, while his partners argued they were entitled to buy out Belkin's 30% stake. After years of litigation, the ownership group settled, with Belkin's stake being purchased by the others in the group. The owners reportedly spent millions of dollars on attorneys to settle the dispute with Belkin, which resulted in them doing battle with the law firm that represented them, claiming the firm made egregious errors. In a season filled with challenges, there were some bright spots, like new captain Ilya Kovalchuk's 43-goal season, and Kari Lettinen's 35-save shutout against the Avalanche in March. But when all was said and done, the Thrashers finished the 2008-2009 season 35-41-6, 27th in the NHL, and well out of playoff contention. The 2009-2010 season was the last year on Kovalchuk's deal. The Thrashers reportedly made him 2 offers, 12 years for $101 million, or 7 years for $70 million, but Kovalchuk turned them both down. With Kovalchuk's future up in the air, the Thrashers played well to start the season, winning 14 of their first 25 games. But as the season progressed, they started to struggle, winning just 4 of 18 games heading into the new year. And as the trade deadline approached, it was clear that Kovalchuk wasn't going to re-sign. So on February 4th, rather than losing him to free agency in the offseason, they traded Kovalchuk to the New Jersey Devils. The Thrashers played well after the trade, but were eliminated from the playoffs in early April, losing at home to the Devils in Ilya Kovalchuk's first game back at Phillips Arena since the trade. Another disappointing season, and the departure of their superstar, resulted in average attendance plummeting to less than 14,000 fans, which ranked third last in the league. A few days after the season ended, the Thrashers fired head coach John Anderson and replaced him with Craig Ramsey. Rick Dudley also took over as general manager and took advantage of the fire sale by the 2010 Blackhawks. Despite the influx of recent champions, the Thrashers struggled all season, ending 2010-2011 with a record of 34-36-12 to finish 25th in the NHL. Behind the scenes, ongoing legal battles reportedly left the Atlanta Spirit Group $130 million in debt. As a result, the Spirit Group sought additional investors or new ownership, and publicly stated their intention to keep the team in Atlanta. The reports began to emerge that talks for a sale to Winnipeg's True North Sports and Entertainment were underway, with one report stating that a deal to move the team to Winnipeg was already finalized.
The big news is the Thrashers have been sold to True North Sports and Entertainment in Winnipeg. The man who broke the news, Sportsnet's Stephen Brunt. Any more details than that, Stephen?
Well, you know, this has been quite a flurry of activity tonight since the news broke, obviously, but you know, that is the core story, RJ, that the deal has been completed between True North and Atlanta Spirit, the owners of the Atlanta Thrashers, that would have the team sold to the Winnipeg Group and moved to Winnipeg. There are preparations underway to make that announcement next Tuesday. Now, who knows now with this having broken tonight, not on their schedule, who knows whether that'll happen Tuesday or not. But that was the plan this evening, and sources very high levels of this deal have confirmed it to the Globe and Mail.
Okay, and that's good you mentioned that, Stephen, because it should be noted that the NHL and True North Sports and Entertainment at this point are denying that the sale has been finalized.
The league denied the report, but acknowledged that advanced negotiations were underway, and that Gary Bettman supported the move. On April 10, 2011, 16,085 fans at Phillips Arena watched the final game the Atlanta Thrashers ever played, a 5-2 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins. That summer, the sale and relocation of the team to Winnipeg were formally approved by the NHL's Board of Governors, with the Atlanta Spirit Group retaining the rights to the name and logos of the Thrashers, which are expected to be used by any future Atlanta franchise. So given the bleak history of NHL hockey in Atlanta, what would have to change for it to succeed a third time around? The first and most obvious thing is a good team on the ice. Unlike Vegas and Seattle, the Thrashers sucked right from the start. A big reason for that was restrictive expansion draft rules that allowed each of the league's 26 teams to protect as many as 15 players. The new rules, which allow each of the league's 32 teams to protect a maximum of 11 players, would give the Thrashers a larger talent pool to choose from, assuming they return to the league as an expansion team rather than through relocation. The second thing needed for NHL hockey to succeed in Atlanta is dedicated and competent ownership. Both previous Atlanta franchises were brought to town to help secure new arenas for the Atlanta Hawks, making the NHL team an afterthought. But now, the massive expansion fees required to bring an NHL team to town no longer makes buying a hockey team primarily for an NBA arena deal feasible. This also increases the barrier to entry for incompetent owners, like the Atlanta Spirit Group, and helps ensure that new owners are well capitalized and in it for the right reasons. But even with a competitive team and solid ownership, hockey won't work in Atlanta without dedicated fans. As we discussed, the Thrashers had stretches of strong attendance, but generally ranked among the bottom third in the NHL. An Atlanta sports executive thinks NHL hockey is most likely to succeed if a new arena is built in the northern suburbs, away from the brutal rush hour traffic of downtown Atlanta. Apparently developers have started looking at opportunities, and I'm sure the NHL has conducted feasibility studies of their own. Given the history of the NHL in Atlanta, I'm pretty skeptical about a return to the market. Let me know your thoughts about the NHL returning to Atlanta, or NHL expansion in general. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to support the channel.